All right then. I'm going to turn on the audio in three.
Okay. You're gonna do the intro. I'll wait till you talk to me.
Right. So, okay, right. So I'm going to
Yeah.
start the audio in three, in two,
Huh? Yeah.
and one. Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Today, this morning, this evening, whenever you tune in and listen to this episode, we are joined by Rabbi Silveira. I read your bio. You are obviously quite a fascinating person in the world and in our Jewish community. So I will ask you a very similar question to which I have asked many people from around the world. Who is Rabbi Silveira? So the whole life story, you can walk through whatever spiritual journey, whatever mysticism journey, whatever journey you want to tell. I'll help you tell it in the next hour by interjecting as I need to. Your hour starts now. Are you there? Oh my. Okay, I know exactly what happened. I know exactly what happened.
There we go. Good afternoon.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that. I forgot to tell you about the muting, and I should have told you. So yeah, you get muted if you mute, but don't mute. So go
Well,
ahead.
I'm muted because you were doing your intro. So
Okay, everybody has this mute. Don't push the mute button. You're supposed to be talking. Okay, go for
not
it.
while you're talking. Good afternoon.
That's a
Shalom
good
Aleichem.
point. Go for it.
Okay. So like Rabbi Aaron said, I'm Rabbi Chaim Ryan Silveira. I'm how old am I? I just turned 34. Gosh, I'm old. So Aaron can ask questions, and as he asks, I mean, it's an interview, so he can ask questions, and as he does so, I will unfold the story. It's interesting because my Hebrew name Chaim means life. So as Aaron asks questions, I will thus unfold the story of who is Rabbi Chaim, my life.
Perfect. You were not born a rabbi.
I was born a Jew. No one is born a rabbi.
That's true. That's true. You were born a Jew, and as I understand it from reading your description, which you sent, I understand though that you grew up in a relatively um, not not observant or non-observant home, and you found your spiritual calling when you got a little older. So that
Right.
is an incredibly compelling and an incredibly important part of who your character is and who you are as a person, even
It is.
before you became the rabbi. So walk us through that experience of discovering that you need to be a rabbi and discovering your spirituality.
Well, first of all, I want to point out a couple things. First of all, as you Aaron already know, but maybe our listeners do not, uh, you know, becoming a rabbi is not in any way equivalent to becoming a pastor, or a Catholic priest, or an Episcopalian minister. That is a spiritual calling, what they would call a spiritual calling, you know, from heaven to minister to their congregation. A rabbi, first and foremost, a rabbi is not a minister. A rabbi has become a minister within the last 200 to 300, a sort of minister, a congregational leader within the last 200 to 300 years. But a rabbi, by definition, first of all, rabbi is an anglicization of the Hebrew term rabbi, which means my master. The Hebrew term being rav, for master. A rav or rabbi is first and foremost an expert in Jewish law and Jewish philosophy. He is not necessarily a congregational leader. He is often a communal leader. So up until about 300 years ago, you would never see a rabbi standing in front of a congregation leading the prayers. Mostly because the congregation there was no such thing as a non-fully observant Jew up until the beginning of the 19th century. All Jews were fully observant, and there was not even the thought of compromise in their observance, which is the unfortunate hallmarks of the conservative, reformed, and reconstructionist movement. They are into compromise, but there was no compromise. So a rabbi was a legal advisor, was a lawyer basically, and he was the scholar, the chief scholar of the community. So when a Jew had a question, is this kosher? You go to the rabbi. When a Jew, needed to have a document signed, like a marriage contract or a divorce, a get, which is a bill of divorce, or some kind of legal agreement between two people, a contract, they would go to a rabbi because the rabbi knew the ins and outs of Jewish law. But only in the past 300 years, with the advent of Chassidic Judaism and the unfortunate advent of the more liberal Jewish movements, like the conservative movement, the reform movement, and the reconstructionist movement, did a rabbi become a congregational leader. Because from an Orthodox perspective, from an observant perspective, in the Chassidic movement of Judaism, the simple Jew was emphasized and given precedence. The simple Jew meaning the illiterate Jew, the poor farmer who honestly doesn't know how to read and doesn't know, maybe, they can't study all day because they have to work, or the poor, the butcher, or the, whatever, the simple folks. And the Chassidic philosophy emphasizes them. So a rabbi became a congregational leader in order to bring the simple folks more closer to God, whereas the main body of Judaism at the time, especially in Europe, the Lithuanian Jews and the Sephardi Jews from the Iberian Peninsula, they didn't care about the simple folk. They honestly didn't. They had nothing to do with them. And, maybe they sometimes would pray in the same synagogue with them, but they didn't lead them. They were just there to answer legal questions. The rabbis, the scholars, were just there to answer legal questions. And, they never taught the simple folk how to pray. They never taught the simple folk the ins and outs of spiritualism, of Jewish mysticism. But with the advent, like I said, of Hasidic Judaism, then the rabbi became more of a spiritual leader. And then, of course, with the advent of the more liberal movements, we had to have a rabbi because the more liberal movements lacked the scholarship of the fully observant Jews.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's extremely, extremely interesting. And I also agree with you that I have seen I'm giving out my opinion. I have seen far too much compromise in the Jewish faith, when I have felt that we need to stop making compromises. And
Right.
it's not just about what's physically going on in Israel right now. It's about all sorts of things. But I am the least likely person to compromise that you have ever met. So,
That's a good thing. That means
good.
that means that when I encourage you to observe Torah and mitzvahs, you'll do it.
Or maybe I would be overly honest and not do it and say I'm not compromising.
That is a compromise. Right there, that is a compromise. Anyway,
Right.
but anyway, being a rabbi is not really a spiritual calling in the way that being a
Sure.
minister is. It
Right.
is a duty. It is a job. Being, in my particular movement of Chassidic Judaism, which is called Chabad Lubavitch, which I'm sure you've heard of, but for those who haven't, it's one of the largest and most important movements in the world. And we do a lot of outreach to Jews who maybe aren't as observant, and we try to encourage them. We don't force them, but we do our best to encourage them to observe. Even if you do just one mitzvah, one commandment that you haven't done before, that's better than not doing it. So most Chabad men they go to yeshiva, which is the Jewish Study Academy, and most of us are qualified rabbis. I do happen to have a higher qualification than most. I have what's called rabbi how do I translate it in English? A judge qualification, meaning that I could sit on a Jewish court and adjudicate Jewish legal cases. But that's just, I just wanted that extra qualification. But it's not a calling so much as in religious circles, something that we are especially in Chabad circles, something that men are simply expected to do.
Absolutely.
In fact, the term often used in English is ordination, which comes from the Christian ordination of priests and ministers. But a rabbi is not ordained in that sense. We are qualified. You don't take holy orders. A priest takes holy orders, right? A priest takes holy. They call it holy orders. We don't take holy orders. We take a test. We pass the test. Some guy says, "Good," signs a piece of paper. You're a rabbi. So it's more like a degree than it is a religious holy order.
Absolutely. I think our listeners will really be able to appreciate that, especially the listeners who are not Jewish, because that is probably a very common misconception and a misunderstanding,
Yes.
But you definitely cleared it up. So then,
now, if you'll give me 1 second before you ask your next question,
absolutely.
I need to take a drink of water.
Oh, me too. Here, you can have some of this water too. This is really good water.
Yeah. Okay, mine is better. Anyway, I'm going to say the blessing. You can say amen after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech shekol nihiyah b'dvoroi.
Amen.
Perfect. For those who want to know the translation, that means, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who through his word creates everything."
Even water.
Everything.
Absolutely. So, now that we've cleared up this whole misconception by you educating me and educating the audience about it, so then what really prompted you? What really, what was your motivation for you to take this test in life to become a rabbi? What pushed you over the edge to do that?
To be honest with you, the better question would be what pushed me to become a Jew. Because as a Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic Jew, and as someone who values scholarship, the rabbi step was simply the next step. So there was nothing really to push me to do that test, to take that test. That was simply, whatever I would be. I'm a person who values scholarship. I am a scholar. That's who I am. So, it was simply the next step in my studies, the next logical step. So the better question would be, what pushed me to be a Jew? What gave me the motivation to be, what gave me the motivation to be a religious Jew? Not to be a Jew, that comes with birth. That is, as they say, the birthright. So like Aaron said, I was born into he said relatively atheist, but that was a very polite term. Unfortunately, I was born into a very atheistic family. And of course, I naturally parroted their beliefs because that's what I was raised with. In fact, there's a funny story. When I was 5 years old, there was a summer day camp near where we lived in upstate New York at the time. It was the summer day camp was at a Catholic school. Now, I should also mention that my father is not Jewish. My father, unfortunately, is what my late father was unfortunately a Catholic. Anyway, so this summer camp was at a Catholic school. And the nuns who ran the Catholic school happened to live in our neighborhood. They didn't live in a convent. They just lived in a house. They were Franciscan nuns. Of course, my only experience with nuns was watching The Sound of Music. So I thought that all nuns live in a convent, and I used to call their house the convent, although it was not a convent. So when I was 5, I went to this summer day camp because everybody that I knew went to this summer day camp. So my mother, thought it was a capital idea to send me to said camp. And they accepted people from all backgrounds at the camp. Now, obviously, at the school during the year, you had to be Catholic, but in the camp, it wasn't necessary. In fact, there was another young Jewish girl that was from my neighborhood who went with me as well. So I remember that I came to camp, and the first day before lunch, the counselors and the I don't want to call her a director because she was a teacher basically. She was one of the teachers at the school who sort of semi-ran the camp. And she instructed us to fold our hands and say grace, which I knew how to say because my Catholic grandfather would say it on Easter. That was the only time I ever said it. So I knew what it was. Anyway, so I came home. This is just to colorfully illustrate how very atheist my family, my parents were. Not so much my grandparents, but my parents. So I came home to my mother's house. I think my father and mother had gotten divorced by then. So came home to my mother's house, and I said, "Mother, we said the thing that we said at Papa's house on Easter," which of course she knew was the Catholic grace. And she got very, very upset. And she marched right down to the convent, the house that these 6 nuns lived in, who ran the school. She marched right down there and spoke with the director of the school, the head of the nun. If she wasn't the mother superior, she was a sister, but whatever. I don't know how Franciscans do their thing. But she spoke with Sister Francis, and she said, "I do not want my son exposed to prayer. I just don't want it." And Sister Francis, who I remember this because I was there. She said to my mother, she said, I won't say my mother's name for privacy purposes, but she said, if you don't want your child praying, then I suggest you don't send him to summer camp at a Catholic school.
Yeah.
So my mother took me out of the camp, much to my chagrin. She took me out of the camp until I begged her to go back for the next 3 years, and finally she let me go back the summer before I went to 3rd grade. But that's who my mother was. That's who my father was. Now, interestingly, my maternal grandmother was as atheist as my parents. My maternal grandfather was religious in his way. He was the Jewish one. My mother's side of the family are all Jewish, but my maternal grandfather was religious in his private, quiet way. Unfortunately, that's not really how we Jews do things. We need to be proud Jews. We need to stand out as Jews, and we need to show who we are as world leaders. We are all world leaders. Every Jew is a world leader. So, but he was religious in his quiet way, partly to appease his wife, who despised anything and anyone that had to do with religion, and inculcated that belief in my mother and her siblings. But my grandfather would teach me little bits and pieces of Judaism. He was the one who encouraged me to watch the musical A Fiddler on the Roof, after which I said, "Grandpa, I want to be like them." And my mother said, "Oh, hell no." My father's parents were fairly religious Catholics and encouraged us to believe, me and my two sisters, to believe in God. And my parents, again, said, "Hell no." So, I was raised in a very atheistic household. And because of the atheism in my household, a very narcissistic household. Where, the idea was always just look out for number one. But as I got older, I began to question things. And I remember seeing this thing on the Discovery Channel, I believe it was on the Discovery Channel, where they went through all the planets in our solar system. And because at the time, I don't know that we had even identified planets in our galaxy, in the Milky Way galaxy. It was back in, I think, 2010, 2011. And I started to think, they went through all these planets and said that how amazing it was that out of the 8 planets in our solar system, Earth seems to be the only one that is what scientists call a Goldilocks planet, meaning that it's just right to support human life or to support life. Of course, we think that there may have been life on Mars, but we don't know. And if there had been, there isn't anymore. So, it just seemed to me while I was watching this thing that seemed to say that Earth was the Goldilocks planet. That it was just it was too perfect to seem random. And so I started thinking, maybe there is something out there. And I was always rather interested in my Jewish roots, but never believed in God. But I sort of started to. And that was the beginning of my awakening, if you want to call it that. I should say the beginning of my return. We don't call it a spiritual awakening. We call it a spiritual return. Because in Jewish philosophy, one who is not religious but is born a Jew, when he or she becomes religious, he returns to his faith. It's because it's believed that he was born with it and somehow left it, and now he's returning. So I began my return by starting to believe that there might be something, some divinity out there. And then when I became ill I was born with chronic kidney disease, but when my one remaining kidney, I had the one taken out at 2 weeks old. When one remaining kidney failed, I was 2 weeks old. I didn't remember it. I suppose if you're in the operating room, but I was.
I just meant. Whoa, that's serious. I'm sorry. That's a serious matter. It's like, whoa, that's a really serious thing. Sure.
I mean, I was born with. I'm a health mess. I am a health mess. But it's so much fun being a health mess because I get to learn stuff. I get to learn stuff. I mean, I could probably pass a med school exam. I'm a little squeamish about blood, but so the written exams I could practice. I mean, I could pass. Practicum, probably. Maybe not. But anyway, so I was born a medical marvel and a medical mess. I'm still a medical marvel and a medical mess. And that's okay. Because if I were just boring, this wouldn't be a fun podcast. Uh, um, but so when my one remaining kidney that only worked 60% in general began to fail around 2014. Then I was like, well, there must be something out there. And but I wasn't using it as a crutch, because it sounds like that when I say that. It sounds like I was starting to think that there was something out there as a crutch. Atheists and some agnostics will say that people use God as a crutch because they need something to lean on. That isn't true in any way. People don't use God as a crutch. Some people do. I suppose some people do. But a truly faithful person doesn't use God as a crutch. Doesn't lean on God. He gets his strength from God. There's a very significant difference. To lean on something means that you have no strength, and you need to use, my rabbi's wife is on crutches. My local rabbi's wife is on crutches right now. She has to lean on her crutches. She doesn't get strength from her crutches. She has to lean on them and be able to walk. She busted up her kneecap slipping on the ice a couple weeks ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, Nebach, I know. So poor woman's on crutches, and she can't start PT until 6 weeks after the surgery. The surgery was on the 6th. So yeah. But God willing, she gets better soon. Anyway, nobody uses God like someone needs a crutch. Or some people, like I said, I think some people do, but most people do not. They don't lean on God because they lack strength. They get their strength from God. They are strong. We are strong, and we get our strength from him. So it's not a crutch. It's literally, for the same reason that a person eats, one depends on God. One depends on food and water to maintain one's strength. One depends on God to maintain one's strength and to provide them with the sustenance that they need to maintain that strength. So that's where I began to, and I explored many things. I explored Buddhism. I explored Catholicism. I explored a little bit of Hinduism. I explored Zoroastrianism. I explored Islam. I explored this sort of belief that every religion is a part and parcel of the truth, and that one can and should combine every religion. Take what practices one can from each and every faith. And everything I explored was just wrong. And then I went back to my roots. I said, because I was exploring Judaism amongst all of those other things. And then I said, let me shut out the other noise and go back to who I am and what I am. And I began to become observant. And I made a neder, which is that's the Hebrew term for a vow, to become observant. And on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year in 2014, honestly, I don't know what actual day on the Gregorian calendar that was, but it was Yom Kippur. I began keeping Shabbos, which it happened to be a Sabbath, a Saturday. So I began keeping the Sabbath the way that we are we Jews are supposed to do it. And I continued to learn. I continued to read, and being a Jew is a process. One is never finished with being a Jew, and one is never finished learning in Judaism. One is learning until the moment the last breath leaves their body. Or at least that's what one ought to be doing. One can be learning. One can be learning at every opportunity possible until the last breath leaves their body. And so can the Gentiles as well, in their own faiths and in whatever they do.
So I completely understand you now, and everything, all of those things make sense. I have sort of been, well, not sort of, I am someone who is Jewish, as we've already decided. And, but I am not observant, but I still love God, and I have always had a strong faith in God and the universe and things like that. You said something very compelling, which is that we need to do the best we can in life to learn until our last breath, so you can anticipate where this is going.
Mhm.
So what do you think happens when we pass away?
I don't think I know because it's in the Torah. Um, when we pass away, well, specifically Jews or non-Jews or what? Which group are you talking about?
I choose, yet I want you to answer the question how under your understanding, under
Authority.
your
Okay.
philosophy.
Well, it's not my philosophy; it's God's philosophy. Um, but according to God, according to the Torah, um, the every human has a soul, and that soul is separate from the body. So the process, in order to describe the process of death, one must first understand the process of birth. So at the beginning of creation, when the first man, Adam, or as we say in English, Adam, was created, in his soul, he had what's called a collective soul or a general soul. And in his general soul was incorporated all the souls of every human being who would ever exist in the future. Meaning that in that soul of Adam, the first man, you and I were part of him. Your mother was a part of him. Your father was a part of him. Your siblings were a part of him. My mother, my father, every single person who is listening to this podcast, you were all included. We were all included in Adam's soul. So in order to understand that, that's the first thing we have to understand. So how does birth work? Well, birth works like this. So the souls are kept in a repository in one of the seventh heavens. I believe it's the fifth or the sixth, but don't quote me on that. And what happens is an angel comes to the soul in heaven and says, it's time to be born. And the soul, so now this is all written down. This is not made up. This is all written down in religious texts, in the Talmud specifically, which is a Jewish legal and explanatory text. Aaron, if you want to know where it is, I'll text you later and tell you where the source is. So the angel comes to the soul and says, "Hey, it's time to fulfill your destiny. Your destiny is to be enclosed in a human body." And the soul says, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I like it here. It's peaceful, and I've seen what happens done on Earth. I've seen it. There are people that are wicked, that are horrible to each other, and so unfaithful to their creator, to the power of the universe, whatever you want to call it, the creator, the master of the universe, the force. I don't want to go down there. I don't want to go amongst those bad people. And the angel says, "But look at this person." And the soul says, "Wow, there's a man giving charity. There's a woman feeding her baby. There's a man learning Torah with his family, with his wife and his children. Maybe there is some good down there." but promise me, angel, that I will be like them. That I will be the one to do good deeds. This is for Jews and Gentiles as well. I will be the one, every soul does this. I will be the one to do good deeds, to serve God with not as a slave, but as a joyous subject of the greatest kingdom, which means that for Gentiles, they observe the 7 laws of Noah. For Jews, we observe the 613 commandments, the mitzvahs. All of them. Not 612, 613. All of them to the best of our ability and with the most joy possible. We don't observe the Sabbath because we have to. We observe the Sabbath because it's a gift and we want to. And every soul says to the angel that brought him, or her, actually souls are female. Souls are female regardless of the gender of the human. Every soul says, angel, promise me, my friend, that I will be like the people who are serving God, who are serving with joy and with love and with passion and with compassion and with responsibility, with a sense of responsibility and obligation to the world, not just to themselves, not to their own individual family, not to their own individual race or ethnicity, but to their whole creation. I want to be like them. And the angel says, okay, I promise you. I promise you that you have the capability, you have the potential to be like them. And then the angel teaches every single soul, Jew and Gentile alike, teaches them what they need to know of God, of the Torah and of God. For Jews, that would be the 613 commandments and all their laws and applications. For Gentiles, that would be, again, the 7 commandments of Noah, which are obligatory for every human, with all their laws, ramifications, and applications. And then the angel says, just before you come out of the womb, my friend, I'm going to tap you on the lip, and you will forget everything that I've taught you, except your soul, even enclosed in the body, will want to be with God, will want to maintain that connection, but your body will force it not to. So then the person is born, and they've forgotten all that they've learned, which means that they then have to start from scratch and live their life fully to the best of their ability. And, you know, it's understandable that some people might not want to observe a particular commandment because maybe they're not comfortable with it. But it's good to push themselves. It's good to push themselves. And if you observe, you know, it doesn't matter where you are for a Jew, for example, it doesn't matter where you are on the ladder of the 613 mitzvahs, commandments, as long as but it does matter in which direction you're going. If you are stuck, if you are stuck on rung 1, well, that's better than not being on the ladder at all. And it's better than taking a step down to the level floor, as long as you intend to go up. Even if you're stuck, as long as you intend to go up, that's what matters. So then the soul lives its life, and it does its best to observe whatever commandments are obligatory for that person's, way of living. And once they are finished, every soul has a mission. Every single creation has a mission. Even a stone has a mission. We don't always know what our missions are. We can live and die without knowing what our missions are. But once the mission is fulfilled, that's when the angel of death, or in some cases, God himself, very rare cases, but in some cases God himself takes us. Now, when the angel of death takes us, the angel comes and the angel says, my friend, I haven't seen you for a long time, but I've been watching you, and it's time to come home. And the soul of the person again says to the angel, my dear angel, my dear malach, my dear friend, my chaved, my friend, I don't want to go. I'm scared. I got used to this body and this world and this life, and there's so much more that I can still do. And the angel says, my friend, do you remember that place that I took you from and brought you down here? That's where you're going. And you've earned, through your good deeds in your life, you've earned a place right by the throne of glory. Now, we Jews do not believe in eternal damnation like other faiths do. Even the wickedest person, so the Jewish texts say, so the sages say, even the wickedest person on earth will only be sent to hell for 11 months, but no longer. Most people are sent to hell for a lot less than that. Some people are sent to, there was one guy who was sent to hell for half an hour. One famous person, I forget who it was, but he did one thing that was bad in his life. And he must have done it very badly. But he only spent 30 minutes in hell. And he got to go to heaven. So everybody gets to go to heaven, regardless of your belief system, your race, your ethnicity, your creed. Everyone gets to go to heaven eventually. And once one is in heaven, they bask in what is called in English the glory of the Lord, what in Hebrew we call the Shekhinah, which is the feminine aspect of God, which is the shining light that gives energy, that sustains everything, and they get to bask in that light, and that light is not seen clearly always while we're on earth. Some people can see it better than others, but it is hidden from most of us. But when we get to the next world, we can bask in it. And what happens, what's really fantastic, is that once we get to heaven, am I talking too much? I hope I'm not talking too much, but once we get to heaven, we deepen our understanding of all that we learned in this world, in this life, which means that we have to do our best to learn everything that we can. Because if we only learn, say, for example, letter A, if that's all we learn, or the Hebrew letter Aleph, then once we die, we get to get to heaven, all we can actually do is deepen our understanding of that letter. But if we learn everything that we can learn on earth until the last breath leaves our body, once we die, we will no longer learn any more in quantity, but we will increase our quality. Everything that we learned here on earth, we will deepen our understanding of each of those subjects and the minutiae involved in those subjects for eternity. And some people will actually be reincarnated. If during their lifetime their soul wasn't refined to the highest degree, most people will be reincarnated. Because the human soul has to be refined. That's the work of this world, this work of this life, to refine and elevate our own souls through godly actions, and to also refine the universe, the physical universe around us through our godly actions. And so when our souls go to heaven, most often they are reincarnated in other bodies and are returned to earth to have a second go. And the only time that they stop being reincarnated is when the soul of that person or that particular soul, which may have gone through several reincarnations, has been completely and totally refined, which, if I remember correctly, is 25 steps. That's what happens after death.
You can never, ever in a million years talk too much on Aaron's opinion.
Baruch Hashem. Okay.
So my goal is to get you to talk, and I don't want you to stop talking. My other goal is to make sure that when the guest talks, they give one of the best answers to any question I've ever heard in my entire existence. I promise you. That was that was golden material here on Aaron's Opinion and for the World. And I really hope that all of our listeners listen to that answer, because the way you gave that answer well. You gave it in a way that I can understand it, and you gave it in a way that makes sense. That was an absolutely beautiful response.
Thank you.
So then I'm sure that I can anticipate what you're going to say, which is pretty obvious to you. So us people with other abilities, right? Mm-hmm. I've got that eye problem, that heart problem, that lung problem. So I know what you're going to say.
Gee, the heart problem, the heart problem, the lung problem are the only two problems I don't have.
Oh,
what'd you do? Steal them from me?
I think so, but then just before I was born, I forgot, and I do know about that thing. I'm sure that I did. I just see. I'm such a good person now that I forgot, because they told me in the past. They say don't steal from rabbis. He says that's a wrong thing to do. Don't do that, man.
Don't steal from anybody.
But especially a rabbi.
But you stole my heart and lung problem. You left me with all this other crap, but you stole my heart and lung problems.
Right, but like you said, you're a marvel, so you don't mind that I stole it.
No, I don't.
See, that's kind of cool. So then you already know what the question is. You already, as a brilliant thinker and as a great person, you already know what I'm going to say. So then, does that mean on a spiritual level that the purpose for me having my eye problem, the heart problem, the lung problem, is that a reflection upon my soul's need for refinement, or is that a reflection on my physical vessel of my body needing refinement, or is that just God's gift to me, where I just need to be a person that learns and loves people and just does the best I can, or is it all of the above?
All of the above, absolutely.
Okay. I thought you were going to give a much deeper answer than.
Okay. So let me clarify one thing, because I think that people are going to. I think that it's possible people could go, why does my soul need refinement? Does that mean I'm broken? Yes. Absolutely not.
Well, I don't know.
Yes and no. Okay. Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I will say that this world is not for whole people. Our physical world, our life in this living world, is not for whole people. So yeah, you're broken. But so am I. And so is Aaron. And so is, I was going to say Barack Obama. He's very broken. But
he's the least of our. Have you seen the leaders we have right now around the world? I'm not so worried about.
Fair enough. He still went to Harvard, so I like him. But no, yeah, we're all broken, and we all need to be refined. In fact, for those of you who know your Bible, if you look at Exodus chapter, I think it's 33 or 34. We just finished it a couple weeks ago. Toward the end of Exodus, when Moses, our teacher, brings after the people of Israel have done the terrible sin of the golden calf.
Indeed.
And Moses, in his anger, breaks the stone tablets on which God himself wrote the Torah. He breaks them. God thanks him for breaking them. He doesn't say, "Hey, what are you doing?" with a nice Yiddish accent like that. He says, "Thank you. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, my servant, my faithful servant. I know you did it out of anger, but anger because you were offended on my behalf that they had done that. Now, once you have rewritten the Torah, because you're going to do it this time, not I, but you have rewritten it on stone tablets, you're going to put the fresh copy, the one that we have now, that's currently in the Ark of the Covenant, concealed under the Western Wall in Israel. Once you write those, the new tablets, with the exact same information that was on the ones that I wrote, you'll put them in the Ark of the Covenant, and you will also put in the broken tablets. Because without the broken tablets make the Ark holy, because it represents us. Now, being broken does not mean that there is something wrong with you. It does not mean that you have failed at all. It means that you can always do better, and you always have a chance to do better. You always have a chance to do better. That's what refinement is. We're all born broken. We're not born whole. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. This is, like I said, not a place for whole people. This is, as referred to in the Jewish mystical language, this is the world of rectification. Our world is the world of rectification. Meaning that our purpose in the world is to rectify a broken world. That's what we're here to do. Every single person who's living is here to rectify a broken world. Because if it were a perfect world, we wouldn't understand it. Can't understand perfection if you don't know imperfection. So in order to understand perfection, we have to be imperfect, which means that we have to be broken. But that doesn't mean that we're wrong. It doesn't mean we're failures. It simply means that we've got work to do. And that is an obligation for every person. Every single person has work to do. It doesn't mean you're wrong, and it doesn't mean that you're messed up. It just means that you got to put yourself together.
Right.
So yeah.
And then of course, in essence, that also means that nobody is perfect.
Correct.
It also means the other thing. It means that it also means, in essence, spiritually, you're teaching me, you're saying that perfection does not exist.
Perfection is a process. Okay. God does not want, I was told this by a friend of mine back on Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year.
Indeed.
He said during a mini sermon, he said, God does not expect us or want us to be perfect, but he expects us and wants us to be perfecting.
Indeed.
Perfecting is a process, a continuous process. Only he himself is perfect.
Right. So it's about the process of moving through our lives.
Right.
So in a way, it's sort of like our journey. Our
Exactly.
journey of reaching up towards, to me, it's like a journey reaching towards the perfection at the end. Well,
there is no perfection at the end. There's completion at the end.
Okay, complete. Right. But then you also see, I'm loving this conversation. See, you also, by the way, I'm shocked and surprised. You surprised me when you mentioned the reincarnation thing, because I personally believe it. I believe it a little, only because I've seen historical videos where people have been able to, quote unquote, prove that they have been reincarnated by so and so. And I'm not going to take that.
I can't prove it, but I know who my previous incarnation is, but I can't prove it in any way.
There is an interesting part. I've never given any thought to it. I just love my life I just love my imperfect life the way it is in this imperfect moment. You see, I'm not terribly concerned about my past or future.
You don't need to be.
Right.
You don't need to be.
Only because I truly do, although we do it in different ways, I truly do love God. And I truly, as I know you know, that I truly love God. And so I am neither afraid nor looking forward to what is the onward or the beyond, as some would say. I'm not terribly concerned about it. I'm not concerned about it because I have so many different things in my life that are messed up that I'm trying to improve upon, like we just said a minute ago. And I don't have time to worry about the past or the future. I'm just trying to improve and
Yeah.
trying to find a sense of my journey and who and what I'm supposed to do,
Yeah.
And then the other side of the coin too, like I was saying, before we pushed record, that thing that I didn't get to do when I was younger that I always wanted to do. So
Yeah.
then that relates then to the whole concept of opportunity. How I've kind of noticed, and I'm sure you have too, that sometimes in life, as we walk through the journey of our lives, we see that there are opportunities that come to us and there are opportunities that come to other people. And sometimes you just kind of sit down in silence and say, geez, boy, that guy next door, he got to do that thing that I always wanted to do. Or then the guy across the street would say, oh, well, that Aaron guy, he's a talk show host and he helps people all over the world. So I guess what I want to know from you is, how do I comprehend opportunity? And how do I tell if something doesn't happen in my life, does that always mean that it's just part of my spiritual fabric for it to have never happened? Or are these just little missteps? Or I guess what does opportunity mean, and how do I internalize opportunity?
A very complex question. So opportunity means when something comes your way. That's an opportunity, right? Now, there's an expression in Yiddish, to chaparein. Chap means to grasp. Rein is an opportunity. So chaparein, to grasp the opportunity. We say that in Yiddish all the time. When an opportunity comes, you should chaparein. You should grab it. You should grab it. If you can, if you're capable and able to, you should grab that opportunity. If someone said to me right now, today, hey, I've got a ticket for a free flight to Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, I would jump up, pack a bag, and be on my way to the airport in a few hours. Because God forbid, if I missed that flight, if I took time to think about it and debate about it and pro and con about it, maybe I'd miss that flight. So on the other side of the coin, there are, like what you said, opportunities that have come to others that maybe you wanted, or opportunities that came to you that you weren't able to take when they came. What that means is that it's preordained. Everything's preordained. That is a very, very, very important concept to grasp. Everything is preordained. Doesn't mean we don't have free will. It means that we have free will, but God already knows what we're going to do. It basically, if you think about it this way, if you have, if you somehow, if you were to write a book, okay, a novel, say, you're the author of the novel, you know what the characters are going to do. The characters themselves, if you were to go in the book magically or virtually or something and be in the lives of the characters have no idea what they're going to do. And they make choices. They have free will to make choices on their level of perception. You, however, as the author, because you created the character and gave them those choices, because you know the character, because it came from you, you know, as the creator of that character, what the character is going to do, because you created it and you know yourself. So you know what yourself would choose the character to do. Therefore, even though the character on his or her perception would have free will and make the choice to do A, B, or C, you, having created the character and the character having sprung from your own mind, you know yourself. So if you know yourself, you know what your creation is going to do, because that creation is part of you. So yes, we have free will, but because we are part of God, he already knows what we're going to do. And so it's preordained. So the opportunities that have come that you have missed were never meant to be things that you should have taken.
Okay, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So that's
because
right.
if you needed to take, if God needed you to do something, then you would have done it.
Right. So then that thing that I talked about earlier, so then
Right.
if that was something that God needed the Aaron's soul to do, then God would have set it up so that I did it.
Correct.
Right. So then the logic is as hard of a pill as it is to swallow. And as you can tell, it has affected me, emotionally over my development from a teenager to my 20s to my 30s, now a talk show host, now, and as a teacher myself, which is what I do when I'm not running a podcast. I teach.
Right. You're an English teacher. Yeah.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. But
when you say English teacher, are you a certified teacher? Like you went to college for education and got a teaching certificate?
I went to college for international affairs, which I had no interest in. And then after that, I, in coordination again with this opportunity thing that we talked about earlier, because I wanted to do something like that and teach English at the same time, I got a certification from a company, and they teach you how to teach English. It was a 3-weekend course.
I kind of want to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to do it because they always run the class on Shabbos.
Shabbos.
So it's kind of tricky, kind of tricky. But at any rate though. So I took that course, and I faced obviously a lot of challenge in finding employment. But I really honed in my online skills and being able to, communicate with people appropriately in an online space. And then my parents were like, because, in essence, in the deepest philosophy of it all, my parents wanted me to do other things in some ways, but then they realized and saw that I'm excelling online and able to run my own online business and et cetera, et cetera. So then they said, okay, well, fine. Then just go, then that's okay. In all honesty, in some regards, we wish that you had been given other jobs, and in some ways, we kind of wish, in some ways, okay, that again, back to the opportunity, that you had been given more of a chance. But the fact is, you're doing fine. You're doing great, they would say, and I would say. So I guess to circle back to all this, I guess that it's just part of my journey that one little thing, which to me is a huge thing, but I guess in the fabric of the universe, I guess it's a small thing, although in my heart it's a huge thing. But anyway,
of course it's a huge thing in your heart, and it's right. Right. You're right to believe it's valid that it is a huge thing in your heart, and you shouldn't diminish it. But nor should you be angry, with Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, for quote unquote denying you the opportunity. He didn't deny you the opportunity at all. You simply weren't meant to have the opportunity. Right.
So in other words, the opportunity kind of it didn't fit into my vessel of who I am.
Right. I mean, people can bluzz all they want, and kvetch and whatever they want about, oh man, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that. But it's it's not for them. There's a song which I can send you later by the Jewish singer Joey Newcomb, whom I like very much. And the words of the song are, sometimes you look at someone else's life. Sometimes I look at someone else's life and wonder why that can't be me. But I say, Matayva, Matayv, hu alecha Yaakov. How good are your tents, Jacob? The things you have are meant for you. So whatever that other person has that you don't have, it wasn't meant for you.
Right. Exactly right.
Right.
Oh my, we're having multiple alarms going off here. Let me, okay. Okay. That is, okay. One moment, please. You can take a sip of water. Let me get this.
Sure. You do know we're way beyond an hour. We're 4 minutes beyond an hour. Actually, I have time, but whatever.
No, actually, yes. And no, I know what time it is. We actually started the recording at 30 minutes, and then because we talked for 10 minutes, but we were chatting before. Okay. Anyway, I took care of that. Okay. I'm going to say I have another 10 minutes. I do want you to know something. Wow, that was amazing. That was truly fascinating. We do have. Now, this one's going to be up to you, Rabbi. We have an audience member who's sitting in the audience who's been a longtime friend of Aaron's Opinion. His name is Latabo, and he's from South Africa. And
I think that's a girl.
what?
I think Litabo is a girl. I think I know her. I know a girl named Litabo from South Africa, and I'm pretty sure I know someone named Litabo from South Africa, and I'm pretty sure she's a woman.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
unless it's one of those like unigender names, and this is another person, but I'm pretty sure.
I think. Well, okay. Well, whoever they are over there, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk to our to the Pretoria office of Aaron's Opinion, because I'm sure they have a question for you, Rabbi. Do you want to talk to them?
She has a question. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. All right, Latabo. What is? I am 100% sure that you have a question for the rabbi today. So go ahead.
Well, to you and to your guest.
I was wrong.
Yeah. When you said I'm a woman, I'm like, nah.
No, but like, I know a Litabo who's a woman.
Nah, no, it's not.
She's a Xhosa girl.
Well, you're talking to a different one. I think you. Well, I think you're talking about who's this? Saying Gorgeous.
No, not her. There's another girl named another person that I know from other groups named anyway. We'll figure that out later.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's let's get to the questions. Yeah. So what I wanted to say now. Okay. So I wanted to say like actually it's a comment that I wanted to say first before I get to the question. Well, I'd say like you're like when I listen to your story, I mean, like it's like you are preaching something that is out of the ordinary. And I just want to say this because even for me myself, like it was something that I've never ever heard before. And well, it leads me to this question. Well, sorry. Well, if I would ask you, Rabbi, like have you ever considered being, I can say, a preacher or a pastor?
You mean a congregational leader? Predominantly religious Jews do not. Oh, that's who you are. Sorry, sorry, I got distracted. Okay. Okay. I know exactly who you are now because I've seen you in the group. Okay, in the WhatsApp group. Anyway, I have considered being a congregational leader, predominantly in Judaism. We don't, rabbis do not lead congregations until they are married, because one of the most important things, you know, in Christianity, the main center of the religion is the church. In Judaism, the center of the religion is the home. So yes, well, we do have congregations, we do meet in synagogues. The rabbi needs to be, preferably, should be married, because what he needs to do is he and his wife and his children are responsible to their obligation is to show the congregation what a Jewish family, a godly and holy Jewish family is. So yes, there are rabbis who are not married who lead congregations, but it is unusual and not preferred.
Wow.
It's a great question, Latavo.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So well, I want to ask this. Actually, it's my last and it's a follow-up. Okay, since you said you are Jewish, I think I've read much about Jewish things, I think in the Bible, but the thing, I don't know if you guys do you guys celebrate Easter, like say for
we wouldn't need to.
Well, even the person just like he just answered before I concluded the question. No, I was saying, like, do you guys what you call, like, do you guys celebrate Easter, especially when it comes to like going to church or synagogues or I can say whatever that you guys do.
So we
So
don't
like, do
believe in
you?
Jesus. We don't believe in Jesus.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
we do not believe that Jesus is the savior.
Mhm.
We if Aaron, do you want me to be completely honest?
Yes.
Okay. We believe that Jesus is wicked.
Hmm. Interesting.
Do you know who Jake? Do you know who Jake? If you know your Bible, do you know that Jake? Do you know Jacob's brother Esau, the wicked brother, the wicked twin brother?
Yeah, yeah.
We believe in Judaism that Jesus is a reincarnation of Esau, the wicked
Mm-hmm.
twin brother of the ungodly and wicked twin brother of Jacob.
That's well, well, it just caught my attention to because it was something that I never realized about that.
Yeah, we do celebrate Passover,
Hmm.
which is coming up in a month. Aaron, please let me know if I can do anything for you for Pesach, if I can help you out with anything.
Thank you so much.
um, you need matzah or whatever you need.
Well, you know me. I love my fruit slices and macaroons.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I can get you. If you need kosher macaroons for Pesach, I can get you kosher macaroons.
Yeah, you know me. I love to eat, man. I love that food. It's
Yeah,
the holiday's worth it just for the macaroons. I'll celebrate that holiday for the macaroons. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
But no, we do not celebrate Easter, and we do
Yeah,
not celebrate the holiday on December 25th.
right.
We're
Because
not
we
Oh,
actually
don't.
supposed to say. We're
okay.
not even supposed to say the name of that holiday.
Right, because we don't.
Can I,
So Latabo, I hope I hope that answers your question. I wanna kind of end out the episode today.
yeah, before,
Um,
okay, yeah, sorry
sure,
to
sure,
cut you.
no
Before
problem.
you, I want to ask both of you,
Yeah.
like, do you use celebrate any holy holidays?
We have more holidays than any other religion on the face of the earth.
Okay.
We have at least one holiday every month,
Mhm.
except for
Okay.
the month before our New Year and the month after our
Mhm.
New Year. Every other
Wow.
month, so that's like September, October-ish. And the New Year will always be in around September, or we go by the moon, so our calendar is a little bit different. So
Ooh.
we
It's a
the
lunar, exactly. It's a
yeah.
lunar system.
So
Oh, okay.
our New Year is in September or October, and that whole month, the first month of the year, has three major
Mm.
holidays. Three major holidays. So almost half of the month, I think it's 16 days of that month, are actual holidays. The rest of the
Mm.
month is either spent preparing for a new holiday or resting from the previous holiday. So the
Wow.
month before that and the month after that,
Mm.
there are no holidays.
Mm.
However, every other month of the year, so 10 months out of the year, we have holidays. We just actually had a holiday on Sunday, which celebrated the miracle from the from the biblical book of Esther.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting though. I mean, well, I didn't know much about Jews, so now I can say I can relate with you guys, but in reality, I'm Christian, so that's why I wanted to
Sure.
ask those.
And that's why I wanted to have this episode today for other people to learn from us and for other people to learn because it's important to know. And now we all know. So
Hmm.
yeah. So Latabo, thank you. I'm gonna ask Rabbi
Thank you,
one more
Tabo.
I'm gonna ask Rabbi one more question, and then we're gonna temporarily
The
part
rabbi.
ways.
The
And
rabbi. It's not my name, my title.
oh, I see. I see. So if you, Rabbi Silveira, can ask me now only one more question to really make me sweat to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you want to ask me?
I don't want to see if you're worth your salt as a podcaster. I want to see if you're worth your salt as a human and a Jew. That's more important to me.
Well, good. So what do you want to ask me? Or I guess, as I phrase it, are there any questions that you have for me? Because sometimes people have one more question that they want to know about me or about who I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
Ask.
Torah study, when and where?
Well, good question. I don't know yet.
I won't make it complex for you. I'll be very simple. We'll go easy. Don't worry. I won't expect you to know everything, and we'll go nice and simple. We can do however you want. We can start with stuff for Passover. We can do the weekly Torah portion. Whatever you want.
That sounds like a very interesting idea, and we will definitely talk about that over in our private WhatsApp.
Yeah,
So
totally.
So thank you. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, both of you. So to you, Rabbi Silveira, if someone else wants to get in touch with you from the audience, if they heard this episode and were really moved, how could you be reached anyway?
Email. Unless you know me well enough to, if you hear me and you know me, you can text me. And if you're nice to me, I just might answer you. But I'm also on Facebook. My email address is under my English name. So it's Ryan, RYAN .L, which is my English middle initial, .Silveira, SILVEIRA @gmail.com. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Ryan, RYAN .L SILVEIRA @gmail.com. And if there are too many emails, then I will employ Aaron as my secretary. And I'm on Facebook. And for those of you who are in groups with me in WhatsApp or know me personally and have my number, you can text me, and I will answer you. I do have to go out. I have to go out later tonight, but I'll be back.
But he'll be back. Sounds good to me. All right. Well, thank you so much. This is going to be a fascinating episode for sure, and it definitely was. I want to say thank you so much for giving me the knowledge, giving all of us all that knowledge today. And you are forever welcome on this podcast. Take care, everybody. We all need to get going, and I wish you all a very good day. We will certainly, all of us will be chatting in the WhatsApp. But until we meet again, thank you, everybody. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching the YouTube video, everybody. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to comment below on the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tickle that bell notification to know when we go live next on YouTube. Don't forget to share the video and all of that, and we will be back soon. I know that was a lot to digest today, and that was an incredibly beautiful episode. We will be back soon. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there. Keep podcasting and help one person today.